folks, how you doing? It is time for another Record of the Week video. This was started at the beginning of the year by Billy Craone. It was a great idea, and that week goes by so quick. I think I'm behind, but oh well, better late than never. For this Record of the Week, I'm going to dive into the Genesis family. Record from Steve Hackett. The record is called Highly Strung. It's a solo album from Steve Hackett that was released in 1982 on the Charisma label. Steve Hackett, being former member of Genesis, left the band in 1977, I believe, and has had a really good solo career since then. And this is just a great album from Steve Hackett, just fantastic. Steve Hackett, such a great guitarist, very underrated because he's not an Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai type. I mean, he plays with a lot of atmosphere, and he makes every note count. Instead of being flashy, he's into compositions and colors and vibe, and produces some really interesting records. And this one right here is a really outstanding album. Side 1 of this record is a killer. Every song on side 1 is great. Camino Royale, Cell 151, which is what we're listening to here in the background, and Always Somewhere Else, Walking Through Walls, great, all great songs. There's an instrumental here on side 2 called Group Therapy, which is just fantastic. A really powerful instrumental, kind of rock fusion, prog song, whatever you want to call it. It's just great stuff. And it's on a really strong instrumental as well, called Hack It to Pieces. He really did some great writing on this album, and it's a shame that his solo records don't get much mention on the VC or anywhere else for that matter. His solo albums are really great. His very first album, the second one, Please Don't Touch, all good albums. So really impressed by this. What I found interesting is the drummer on this album. If you look closely here, the drummer is Ian Mosley. Ian Mosley is also the drummer for the UK band Marillion. And I just think it's really interesting that his drums graced this Stephen Hackett record. I almost said Stephen Wilson. Steve Hackett record. Well, speaking of Stephen Wilson, Steve Hackett recently released a Genesis Revisited Part 2 record, and Stephen Wilson actually does sing vocals on one of the classic Genesis songs. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that. Shame on me. I should at least have a CD of it. And I believe Hackett's going to be touring in the U.S. late spring, early summer, sometime in support of that record. So it'd be cool to see some of the reworked Genesis classics. But this is just a great album. He is such a great guitarist. I think it's a shame that he doesn't get much mention, and his records almost go unnoticed sometimes. Not on the VC, of course, but in radio. It's a shame that he doesn't get a lot of listens. I love the way this song starts. You would think it's a ballad, but it's not. Listen to that guitar work. Very nice, very nice. Steve Hackett is such a great guitarist. Wait for the rhythm. The rhythm's really good on this. The song is called Always Somewhere Else. I just really want to wait for the rhythm to come in. rhythm. It's a great rhythm. It's a highly strung solo record from Steve Hackett. Just some incredible stuff, some great musicianship, some fantastic guitar playing, and I love the artwork on the back cover and the front cover. I believe it was done by his wife at the time, his wife Kim, who painted a lot of the covers of his solo records. Unfortunately, they divorced a few years back, a couple of years ago or so. Really sad, but so always some interesting artwork on his album covers, and see the face of the singing guitar here. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, that's gonna do it for this record of the week. Steve Hackett. You really can't go wrong with any of his solo albums, but this one in particular I think is really great. That's gonna do it for King, and see you guys in the next video.